to Martini Shot, a podcast production of nanticoSTUDIOS. My name is Jordyn.
And my name is Sarah. Well,
awesome. Sarah.
We're here. We're doing it.
We're here. We're doing it. Not without drama, equipment drama, of course, not like real person drama.
We couldn't start this off without a big fiasco situation here.
I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of like on brand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. For those of you who don't know, myself as a film major, I forgot to turn the lens on, and Jordyn's microphone stand broke. So this is how it's gonna go, right?
Yep. Where we are thriving. Thriving and vibing. I mean, I think it's actually really good for us.
Oh,
because it just like, you know, we have so much room to grow, which is perfect.
It can only go up from here. 100%.
Amen.
Well, thank you for joining me on this escapade here. We've got quite the story to get into, but I just want to thank you for allowing me to be able to share my passions of film with you. For someone who also loves film as much as I do, and being able to work with you on not only the podcast, but with you in general on Nantico, as we will also discuss, is super awesome, and it's been a blessing. So thank you so much.
Oh my God. Okay, not me gonna cry in the first 30 seconds. No, seriously. Sarah, no, a little shout out to Sarah here is that this is very much her baby in a way. She came to me with this idea a few months ago. And I was like, if you want to do this I'm like, absolutely, this is awesome. So Sarah's been like grinding for Sarah, I don't know, has it been like 3 months? I don't have any conception of time.
Oh God, yeah, it's been that and then some. Yeah, feels like 30 years, not 3 months.
30 years, 3 months, same difference. I mean,
yes. So for those who don't know, obviously, it's the first episode of Martini Shot, a podcast that is under the branch of nanticoSTUDIOS. Should we get into how this all came to be, Jordyn?
Let us dive in.
Would you like to go first? Because I know your story is more extensive. There's an 8-year difference between us.
Stop it right now.
There's a lot of backstory into going into this. So, yeah, I don't know. Take it away, I guess.
Absolutely. And I'm okay. Sarah, I think you know this as well, but I'm just going to put it out there. In the event I become a little awkward, I'm a little nervous about all this. This is very weird for me. Sarah, I'm sure it is for you to kind of be more, you know, in front of the camera, so to speak. I do like to hide behind.
Right, 100%.
And so it's a little bit out of the comfort zone, but, you know, this is life. It's all about growth and things. So I don't want to go too far back and bore everybody here. But for a quick and dirty kind of about like my background and things like that. Like Sarah said, there's a 20-year difference. Oh my God, no, there's an 8-year difference between the two of us. Oh my God, 20. Can you imagine? Like, yeah, I'm actually 55. Don't I look great? No. So I'm 28. Sarah just turned 20. And so I've been interested in filmmaking since probably around 13 years old. My first memory being excited about film remember watching Sarah, do you know the musical like Oliver? Like it's based on like Oliver Twist, and it was like this movie musical that came out in like the 80s.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I was like crickets, absolute crickets. Well, I just remember watching once. I was watching this there's like this huge number called Who Will Buy, and I remember watching it be like, oh my God, like it felt very magical, and I was like, this is what I want to do, and this is whatever. I remember at the time, you know, this is probably 2006. LOL, you're probably in a diaper still, and I remember like going to Wikipedia and printing out like Wikipedia article. I have no idea why, but so anyway, did a lot of those silly short films you do with your friends growing up. Some of them live on an external hard drive somewhere that I think they just need to stay on the external hard drive, I think. But I ended up going to I really battled with it. And actually, I think this would be really great to talk about one day, Sarah, as well. Kind of, because Sarah will explain in a minute where she goes to school. I ended up not doing like the film school route. I went to school and majored in communication studies thinking I was like, oh, film will always just be like the hobby thing, and I'll just get the real person job and work in marketing or something like that. Did the college thing, graduated from college in 2015, worked in marketing, and then I ended up moving out to LA for a couple of years. Did a few, I mean, it's LA, so I did a few film stuff while I was out there, more obviously like production assistant type gigs, but never really saw film. I never really thought it was possible. I didn't think that this was something that I could ever do as much as I always wanted to. I don't think I thought that I could. I didn't think I had the right opportunities. I didn't have the talent. I didn't have whatever, quote unquote, whatever it took. And so, as I think that's something that we can all commiserate in. Yeah. And so I ended up moving back to the East Coast in, I think January of 2018. I was like, at this point, I was like, I'm going to start my own marketing agency. I'm going to do design work. I'm going to do freelance. I am Miss Professional. I'm 20. I was like 24 or something like that. I was like, I'm going to do my own thing and da 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 da. Long story short, I think like Sarah, I feel like I'm talking like so long, but I think it's like the film side of things like never went away. It was always very much like I can't wait to get back into production, whatever that looked like. But it very much felt like the longer I was out of it, the harder it was to get back in, and the more excuses you make to yourself, and oh, this is so silly, this is so dumb, like. Yeah, like nobody cares. Like everybody wants to like be a filmmaker, be an actress or a singer. Like these are stupid childish like dreams that should have died when I turned 18. Yeah. And so and don't get me like I'm sure that even though you're once again we have an 8-year difference, but I'm sure you had similar experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think there's this common bond that we share that we've talked. There's a lot of things that are like surprisingly in common between us. But yeah, no, I had the similar experience. It's kind of like that realization as a kid, like, this is what I want to do. Like, it actually started out in middle school, which for me would be 2011. I was in a small like play production, in our like middle school theater group, and theater and film go hand in hand for me, but, it was supposed to be like this talk show where we had hosts. Certain theater students would play as hosts, and then certain other theater students would be a special guest with an act that they wanted to share, and then they'd get a younger class, whether it be second or third grade, to help with the act. So they'd pull a middle schooler, and she's doing a baking show, and then so she'd lead the baking show, and all the second graders would be helping her cook. Anyway, point being, I was part of this theater group, and my role in this little situation here was I was the director of this said talk show, and I was faking it. Obviously, I was the fake director. I stood off the stage, and my lines were like calls and cue calls and things like that. But I was like, I really like this. I like the power this possesses. This is cool. I wanna direct more stuff. So I was a weird kid. But like that was like a string of events that got me into filmmaking. I got a tablet, which is a really off-brand version of an iPad. It kind of looked like a Kindle, but what was really cool about it is that it had a camera on it, and better yet, it had a pause button on it, which was like the most incredible thing to little 10-year-old me, like 11-year-old me. I was like, wow, I have a pause button on this camera. I could like make skits. And that was like my basic like first form of like editing. It was my introduction to editing. I mean, I obviously didn't have any editing software, but if I used that pause button, I could like create cuts and like little skits I did. So of course, as one does, like you mentioned, I dragged my cousins into making every single skit possible that I could think of. And they hated it, but I loved it. So, and then I soon grew to high school where I did a couple of short film classes. And that was like the time I really got into like movies and, stage plays and things like that. It really solidified as I was like growing up and becoming more mature. It really solidified the career choice I wanted. I really started paying attention to movies and how they were made, and just learning more about film. I moved up from that basic tablet iPad situation to a computer with iMovie and actual editing software and a camera So I was slowly learning these building blocks throughout high school, and by senior year, I obviously was like, all right, let's do this thing. So I am now a junior at Savannah College of Art and Design. I'm majoring in film and television, and I'm minoring in casting because I think casting directing is really an underappreciated art. So yeah, I've done several different plays, or I've done several different short films, and I'm part of the film festival as an intern that we do. It's called the SCAD Savannah Film Festival, rather. Yeah, it's been really awesome. I've gotten to work with several amazing people on several amazing films. One of the most amazing things that I got to do was the Coca-Cola short film skit, where Coca-Cola would select colleges to submit films, and we would film them, and the hope would be that they played in a theater. So if you've ever seen like Avengers, for instance, and you walk in and there's like a student film that plays before the movie, that was one of them. And we won first place for that. And I was so glad to be a part of it. I worked as a PA, but unfortunately because of COVID, they never aired it in the movie theater. So that was very disappointing.
Oh my gosh, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. That just kind of like jumped into the whirlwind of 2020. That was just like the first of a really lot of sucky things to happen that year, of course. And yeah. So yeah, and I think as you were kind of getting to for just a quick second, like you were getting into like how you lost the passion for a bit, the more you strayed away from it. And I was kind of like feeling the same thing in 2020. Like I was doing film classes online, of course, but like I was away from what I was doing and what I loved, and that really sucked. And it took a mental toll on me for quite a bit, because I was promised to be a student at a filming school, and it wasn't happening. I wasn't learning anything, and I wasn't gaining experience. So that was just a brief summary of my 2020. So yeah,
absolutely. I think it's one of those like cool, well, I don't know, cool now, I guess, serendipitous things, because if it wasn't for COVID, if it wasn't for 2020, there was probably be no reality in which we would be sitting here right now. I probably would have never, well, you never know, but I don't know if I would have ever reconnected with you. So it's, there's always like that silver lining kind of situation.
Yeah. And
well, Nantico would not exist as it does right now if it wasn't for COVID, because that was kind of
That's true.
Yeah, like that was very much well, I don't know. When I moved back to the East Coast from LA, I very much wanted to be like, oh, I'm gonna start making films here on the East Coast. Sarah and I are both from Delaware. I was like, I want to live in Delaware and figure out how we can make independent film work here. And so then that's where it began and for 2 years. It was just like, oh, one day I'm going to do this. And you know how that goes. It's like one day and then it just catapults. And then in like 2020, when everything is shut down and you have way too much time to be with yourself and your thoughts and all those things. And I don't know, it was like a big moment for me. I was like, at the time I just turned 27. And I was like, I'm not doing anything I said I was going to do with my life. And, we all have the existential crisis. Sarah, if you haven't, you'll have 45 of them as you get into your 20s. But
I've already had a couple.
Fair enough. And it's always like it's always like this part of it. And so I had no idea how I was going to do it. But I was like, I'm making a film, damn it. Because I'm sure it's similar with you, even though you had class and things like that. Like I had been writing these like short film scripts for the past couple of years, like 5-page situations that were mostly shit. But it was just like, oh, I'm going to like make this happen. And then they just sat in a drawer. And I don't know, okay. So, okay, we're going to get a little deep here. But as I was like trying to prepare for this episode and, like get all my notes together and like, what's the timeline of how like Nantico came to be? What's funny about it is I don't really I kind of think I've blacked out of my memory, like August of 2020 to like October of 2020. I moved from Delaware to Philly that time. Yeah. I don't really know the sequence of events, how it went down, I just know that one day in October, Sarah, actually no, what's even crazier is that I got you at, okay, I'm putting the cart way before the horse right here. So this is where like I'm going to have to rein myself in because I can just ramble and make everything out of order. So I'm going to try really hard right now to make this make sense. I guess actually I want to backtrack it a little bit in the sense that I want to explain to the people Nanico and why it's called Nanico and what it means to me. So is that okay, Sarah? Can we do this? Can we go down a little lane right now?
Go for it.
skip down the lane.
Yeah, 100%.
I appreciate that. So Nanico, if you go on our Instagram, which is just Nanico, Nantico, you'll see that the very first post on the Nanico Instagram account is, I believe is it November 1st or October 1st? Hold on, I'm looking at it. It's November 1st, 2018. And it is a post that it just has the caption, coming soon. And that was because in 2018, I was like, oh yeah, this is my new, I'm going to start this company called Nanico. The name goes back to the Nanticoke River, which is a place that I grew up near, and it just means a lot to me. And it was all about like filmmaking in Delaware and go independent film and rah, rah, rah. Life is beautiful and serene and everything makes sense. Well, then as we all can see, nothing happened for like the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And so, then COVID, I was like, what am I going to do? And then with COVID, I was like, okay, I want to get back into filmmaking in some capacity, but we're still very much in COVID. It feels very irresponsible, if not impossible, to pull together like some type of big project situation. But I'm like, but I just want to do something because I'm afraid that if I don't do anything, if I wait until COVID is over, because at the time we had no idea like how long COVID was going to like go until. And I was like, what if I just my aunt has this barn in Bridgeville, Delaware. What if I just wrote these really short, like literally, I'll call them micro shorts, and they'll be 42 seconds long, and they won't really, I don't really know what they're going to be, but it's just like the big thing is just to get my hands on a camera, to be on a quote unquote set, and to see who, if anybody in this greater Sussex County, Delaware area is interested in film. And it was kind of like, Sarah, I think we've talked about this a lot too in the past few months, but I kind of sometimes have to just like close my eyes and just like kind of do it without really thinking about it. Or if I think about it too much, I won't do it. And so long story short, wrote these 4 42-second micro short scripts. I got this I got a date, I sent out casting calls to like all of the local, universities or schools or whatever. Somehow lucked out and had 3 delightful young women respond and like wanted to work on this. And it was like, I think it was like a week or two before I think it was a week, let's be honest, a week before like we were to be on this quote unquote set. And I was like, oh my God, I need so much help. And I was sitting there and I was like, Sarah Layton. And hold on, Sarah, do you remember? Okay, because so
little did she know. Let's just put this out there. Little did she know I was there waiting a minute down the road.
Well, but literally,
like actually, yeah. So for those who don't know, like this bar that she's talking about in Bridgeville, Delaware, I literally live a minute away from this place, and we had no idea, which was like the funniest thing. But yes, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And I think that's what's so funny about this whole thing is it's very much like there's all these fun, in hindsight, all of these things that just kind of happened that if they didn't, and it wasn't like intentional, it was all just kind of like a hot mess. But if they didn't happen, then we wouldn't be like, I'm here right now. But because Sarah, let's talk about how we know each other. I think that's like an important situation.
Okay, yeah, let's backtrack. Yeah, I was about to ask you like this decision to start to create Nanico. And you said early, 2018, 2019. So this was right around the time we first met, correct?
I feel, okay, Sarah, when did you graduate from high school?
2019.
Okay, so I definitely, because I worked at your high school at one point, and I think that there was crossover. I think that's technically when I first met you, because my mother, who also worked at the high school, she says, there's a student, her name is Sarah Layton. She's like, my mom was like, she reminds me so much of you. I need you guys to like meet each other. And I definitely like, we knew each other.
Yeah. That was the first time we physically met. I don't know if you remember. I entered as a freshman in high school in 2015. And that was the first year I signed up for short film, a course. And you came in with your little, what do you call those? My mind just blanked. But you came in with
the glide
stabilizer.
cam.
Yes. You came in with
Oh,
like the little
LOL.
stabilizer situation, and you're like, "Hi guys, so you're gonna be borrowing this for short film. I can't be there, but this is how you use it." And then you were like opening up the bag, and you're like putting all the little plates on. And you're trying to like balance this thing out, and I was like, "This girl is so cool. Like she's got her shit together."
Oh
like,
my god,
you know, because
LOL.
like I'm like looking at this like. I'm looking at this plate situation and I'm like, I don't know how she does it, and I still don't know how to use it, guys. But anyway,
Same.
Like,
It's
this
literally
is so
same.
cool. And you came in as like you came in like knowing like your film stuff, you know, like, and that was just like as an aspiring person, like that was like the coolest thing to me, like, you know, I want to be you, Jordyn. Gum. That was little freshman me. And then of course we didn't actually have a physical conversation till my senior year of high school. I think that's when we first met.
See, the thing is, what's so funny about that is now that you say that, I do remember that happening, but I don't remember it. You know, I don't remember going to the school. I don't remember like doing that because I think you told me that before, and I was like, huh, that does kind of like spark something in like, you know, the back of the brain somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I think because when you were you were a senior and I was still living in this is I guess when I had moved back to Delaware, and I was like, I'm going to start this production company that never was started at the time. And correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like I might have somehow got in contact with you, and I was like, hey, do you want to like grab some coffee?
Yeah. I could probably take it up if I looked. Yeah, you were like, hey,
I tried to find
it, and yeah. She was like, I'm Susan Gum's daughter, and I work at DCHS, and I love if we could grab some coffee and just talk because like you're doing all this stuff. And I was like, oh, it's Jordyn. Like, oh, I remember her. Yeah, that was, and then we got to talking.
Oh man, well, so yeah, so I think I remember us meeting. See, it's so funny, Sarah, that you're like, oh, she had her shit together. Mm-hmm. I do remember what I remember from meeting with you at that Starbucks coffee shop is I was like, oh my god, I wish I had like when I was a senior in high school, I wish that I thought like Sarah as opposed to how I thought when I was a senior. You know, I wish that like to me you were you were so driven, you had such clear goals, you were going to film school, and I was like, oh shit, this I was like, this girl's got it together. Where I'm just like trying to start something that I haven't even really done anything about it because I'm too damn scared to do anything. So, LOL.
Look at us go. Yeah. No, I think it's just interesting looking back of like what we thought of each other, you know, and I think, yeah, you know, each of us wanted to work with each other at some point. Like I obviously wanted to work with you because like you had this experience, you know, we're out to LA, you've done this and that, and then you, I guess, vice versa, you know, as I was like heading off to school. So it's very, very interesting how we've come together to create such a wonderful company. So yeah,
absolutely. I think it's like, yeah, and that's one of those things, like who would have known? Because I think I know we talked about this a little bit this morning. Because it might be surprising, we did prep for this episode, LOL.
We tried.
But as I was thinking more about it, I think the reason I contacted you back in October, I thought you were in Savannah. I was trying to get up with your brother because I wanted to know if he would run sound, if he would be a boom up. And then that's when I learned that you weren't in Savannah, that you were in Delaware because of COVID. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, jumping into 2020, yeah, I was, so a brief, like, a bit of context for that.
Fair.
Like, I obviously became a freshman in 2019 through 2020, and obviously that's when the pandemic hit. So I only got a little over half of my freshman year done before I had to finish freshman year online, and then I spent the whole entire sophomore year online as well, and I just finished off, obviously. I'm going back in the fall. But yeah, so you texted me around the time I just started my sophomore year online. So that was quite a surprise, honestly. Because to be honest, like I was in such a rut, and you were probably the last person I expected to text me. So I was like, oh.
Well, because honestly, it was one of those things where like you saved my ass that day. Granted, it was because it was COVID and everything was so small. There was only 5 of us on set. Well, actually, I don't even know if you know this. There was supposed to be 6 of us. And then it was either the night before or the morning of, one of the individuals that was supposed to come no longer could.
Oh,
and
yes.
I was like,
yeah.
well,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
we're in it now. I was like, well, we're going to just figure it out. So to everybody's credit, and I think that was like, honestly, that it was October 31st, 2020, and that day would have never been pulled off if you were not there. Because it was like when you were there and afterwards, and I was like, I remember like, I was, thinking about the day, I was like, I don't think I could have pulled any of this off without Sarah. I had just no concept of how horribly unprepared I was. And I was like, well, we just got to check through it.
I mean, that's what happens when you start off after being away from it for so long. You just got to like put yourself out there and just like start working on things like that. And, and honestly, it wasn't a hot mess to me, because you say that you're very like self-conscious of your work. But like, to me, this was like the coolest thing because I didn't see mistakes. All I saw was that I saw someone who was passionate about film just as much as I was. And I was just happy to be there, happy to be working on something again. And it was a wonderful day. And we had, subsequent weekends after that where we filmed, and all of those were wonderful.
Yeah, it was definitely just the right people. It was funny because it was, in hindsight, I was like, I don't know. I think like, to go back to it again, it's like sometimes you just have to do things without really, I don't know, you just kind of thrust yourself into it and let it happen. And so I'm glad that
yes,
we did it. I think that was the thing. I remember driving home and I was like, okay, it's done. Like, it doesn't matter because it's done, and that's the first step.
Yeah.
But it was, then it was, and I remember Sarah, I was, because, once again, like, I think we're all a little self-conscious. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, Sarah's like never going to want to work with me again. All that stupid stuff you tell yourself. And so I was very nervous to like contact you about, doing something else, because I was like, oh no, she's so nice. She's not going to like, she's not going to want to, but she's not going to know how to say no. And so,
no. And you know this now, but I'm always on board with whatever project you have. And yeah, and I think it's one of the weird things to come out of 2020 is a lot of unexpected stuff, right? Because like you said before, if like none of this happened, we wouldn't be here right now, and
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have been able to work with you on some stuff. So it's kind of crazy how life works, right?
Dude, no, but you're not wrong. I think that's like because like when we went to, what I'm going to call it, I call it in my head, like, first day of set back on October of 2020. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. Like, it was just like, I just want to do something. And there was no long-term anything in my head. It was just like, I just want to do it just to prove, guess what, I can still, hold a camera potentially. I think it was just very much like I just survive this first day, and then we can see what happens. And honestly, there's, I think, a not so small part of me that was kind of like thinking that, it's going to confirm to me that this is like not what I want to do. It's going to be, I'm going to walk away saying like, no, Jordyn, like, it's a good thing you never did that. And it was funny and LOL how that was the complete, opposite situation. After that one day, I was like, wow, we need to get back into this. Right. And so, and that's kind of how, in my head, as much as like Nantico has technically like been around since 2018, that's to me is really where I consider the actual start of things, because that was, that was like the first step in yeah, I don't know. And what's crazy is it feels like it was so long ago, and it's been, what, is that 8 months? I can't do that kind of math in my head. 9 months?
Yeah, just about, I think 9 months. Yeah. And I think just to take a look at like where we've come since then, from like the first weekend shoots to doing this podcast to doing some other things that we'll talk about soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I remember, I forget which weekend it was because we did several weekends. Okay, so let's backtrack for a second. The weekend shoots are we were doing weekend shoots. It was like day shoots, and we do like sporadic particular weekends out of a month, and they're all for 60-second shorts. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Sarah, they're 42 seconds short, and it's so ridiculous that they're exactly 42 seconds.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm so
No,
sorry. I feel like a failure.
I
knew
feel like
that too. I don't know why I
asshole.
said 60 seconds.
No, it sounds so stupid.
Whoops.
No, but like I'm like hearing myself talk, and it's like, oh, they're 42 seconds. Like, get out of here, Jordyn. Like, it's so stupid. But
no, but they are. You're right. You're right. I don't know why. I think I was just thinking like TikTok. I was thinking 60 seconds.
Absolutely.
Might be.
No, there really is no. It's just me being like pretentious asshole about it. But yeah. So once I don't know. I feel like this is something I've been nervous to kind of admit because this is the heart of it, is that you always feel like everybody else has got everything together and they're working out on this very strategic, well laid out plan.
Yeah. And
that, as much as I would endeavor and I would love to be that person, it's not really me most of the time. It's most of me just, well, you have like a vision, but it's like, I feel like a lot of times, particularly now when you're starting something new, it was just like, you just got to get it done. Mm-hmm. And so when we were starting to do these weekend shorts, and we'll talk more, I think, in future weeks about a couple other delightful people that have been involved in these weekend shorts. Yeah. And also nothing would have happened without them as well. And I think it was really good for me because it proved to me that, like, you know, I was like, people are trusted, like, you know, they're taking up their time, their weekend to work on these things, and they have no reason to, except that they so in the sense of, you know, it's not like they have this big payout at the end of the day. And so it kind of like kicked me in the ass and was like, Jordyn, you have to, this is like your responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, so how these, let me get back to your actual question instead of dancing around the totem pole. So these 42-second shorts back in their original iteration in October of 2020 were really just my like COVID survival plan. It was like because we can pull off short little 42-second situations. And it was a way to, once again, it was just to get back on set in some capacity. And also for me to have a better understanding of, like what kind of talent or what kind of interest in the greater Delaware area when it comes to film, whether it's, you know, in front of the camera or behind the camera roles.
Yeah. I just want to say that's like amazingly like feasible too. Like the way you just like, I don't know. I think it was just the perfect time to start it because it's exactly what you said. I don't want to repeat you, but like it was like COVID feasible. It was an easy thing to do to jump back into something after being away from it for so long. And like you just said, it's a great way to scope out new talent, you know. And I think that was like the best decision / stepping stone you could ever like take was starting Nantico up, you know, after being away for so long. I think that was like a genius idea. And also like getting into like the logistics of it, like, you know, 42-second, you know, little videos able to be seen on like Instagram shorts, TikTok, you know, YouTube. Like it's a great we're in a great time right now. We've got so many platforms, and you know, to see film in such a short amount of like time is a great way to make it accessible to different kinds of platforms as well. So that was a genius move on your part. I just wanted to say that. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, please always cut me off because I will talk incessantly until I'm shut up. I appreciate it, Sarah. And I think that it feels weird because I think it's because it made sense in my head, but most of it was like very like from a place of like fear, in the sense of just like, this is what I can do to like grit my teeth and just get through it.
Right.
Just to hopefully like, you know, get past the first step. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, it's like looking at the data. Like, no, there wasn't that. But I think that was after we did the first series, and I was like, okay, shoot, like I don't know like what to do next. And I was so fortunate, like you and the other girls the women that were involved had such like positive response to it. And I was like, well, at least we're having fun. Like we might as well like do something with this. And speaking of times that just become, you kind of just like block them out in your memory because they were just like, you know, maybe not the best of times in your life. But I remember over Christmas break, I like went home for like 3 weeks, and it was like very peak COVID. I think we all had a really weird Christmas of 2020. We couldn't really see all of our family, and everything was just kind of in a weird spot. And fortunately through that, it was kind of like a, shoot, well, how can we incorporate, because once again, there was, at that point, we had no concept of like when COVID would be over, when we could get back to like more of like a proper set experience. It's like, well, how can we keep this going along and keep this format, but somehow make it part of something bigger? Because I think that's what I was really struggling with. And it was like, well, let's do another weekend. But I was like, but it felt like there was no, I guess, greater purpose when it came to story.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it evolved into something a little bit bigger, but it was a great like next step, not only for Nantico, but for me personally. Once again, and that's kind of where I would love to talk about this a little bit, where you kind of went and just, I don't even know if what you, back in the day, like in October, it was kind of like a Sarah, call yourself whatever you want to call you, whatever, because you're doing like basically everything. But that's like, I think after Christmas is when it was, we had a conversation. And
big conversation.
Big conversation. And that's when you came in as a producer, which I can't speak enough great things about it. Not only you, but the impact that and like in your support. And I think that's something that's been difficult for me to articulate, is not only the technical support you provide because of your experience and your willingness to just do whatever. And you have so many great things that you bring. But what cannot be understated when it comes to like the value you bring to not only this company, but to me, is you are like the first person that I feel like it's very difficult for me to be a little bit vulnerable or to be like, oh, I'm really nervous about this because I don't like this. It doesn't feel like that's what a director shouldn't be saying, that they should be, very assertive. And anyway, so you've always, another great, when you come into your role as producer, just like, I don't know, it sounds so dramatic, like the emotional support, but sincerely, you fulfill so many you're such an important piece of this puzzle. And for more reasons than one, we would not be sitting here right now talking if it wasn't for you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Let's see. I think I just came on, starting with the shorts, the weekends. I came in as a PA, I guess you'd say, or an AD, either or. Just literally being the extra set of hands that you needed. Most of the time I was running the boom pole. I was running sound.
You were.
Because we didn't have a sound person. Yeah.
Nope.
That was an interesting experience because I've honestly never done that before. So I'm so grateful for that. But after each of the weekend short situations, each day we were kind of packing up and we had just like conversations because I was interested in what you wanted next and what you were looking forward to, as far as this like whole project thing. I just want to get to know it. And then of course you willingly like sat down and explained it all. You expressed like interest in making this a long-term thing. And I thought that was so like amazing and like honorable. Like I just thought that was like the coolest thing. A long-term production company focused in Delaware, because that's not often heard of. And I was like, I want to be a part of it so bad. And I remember, backtracking, I had always wanted to do a podcast in college, freshman year. And we have a radio situation in college. We have a SCAD radio group. And I had always wanted to do a podcast with my friends, and we'd planned to do one about film. But it never happened. Just people's, schedules got crazy. People were on films, doing classwork, things like that. And I still had the passion to do it. Like I never like forgot about doing it. It was always in the back of my brain. I was like, damn, I really wish I was able to do this podcast. And you were looking for, in the meetings that we had, you were looking for more opportunities to branch out, not whether through advertisement or just to have some more projects under your belt. And I went home after one of the weekends and I was like, oh my God, I have the greatest idea. Let's do a podcast because you're already on a podcast. You're on a music podcast. That's a side note. And so you always say the experience and you had the experience, and I obviously had the energy to do one. And I brought it up to you after the next like weekend short that we had. And I was like, hey, should be interested in a podcast. And then of course you were like, to be honest, I was like really nervous because I didn't know like the reaction I would get out of you. You could have been like, I don't know, or like, no, it's not really where I see this project going. But you were like, yes, that's an awesome idea. And I was like, oh my God, really? And then I think that was just like the start of like a snowball effect of like the planning process of this, what we would talk about, what would be the meaning of this podcast. So and it's been an honor, as far as like being a producer, it's been an honor being here and helping make some of the creative decisions. You obviously pay attention to a lot of like the story elements of each of the films that we do, things like that. Whereas like I'm more like, okay, like let's plan for this during these months, and let's schedule like this new thing for this season. And it's been so fun to plan. It's been so fun to talk about, because we do weekly meetings every Wednesday. It's just been an exciting journey because I love planning. I'm weird. It's been just really awesome to do it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's like funny because I think it's well, I think when we were talking on Monday, and I was like, Sarah, like I appreciate you because oftentimes I need like a kick in the ass, and you give me the kick in the ass, and like in the most like loving way, because that's where I really struggle is translating like these like high level like, oh yeah, this is cool, into like a tangible, okay, how do we actually accomplish that situation? Mm-hmm. And so yeah, and so I think that was what to kind of talk a little bit, to reference back to talking about kind of like the vision for Nantico, at least the vision as it exists today, is that, yeah, definitely want to, I'm really passionate about independent filmmaking, and it's to me, I think of Nantico in the most positive way as the great experiment, in that, hey, can independent filmmaking be a viable career for, creative people? Because, it's always like, I think that's what I learned when I was my experience out in LA was, I like film, but I don't necessarily, at least not right now, don't really see myself as someone wanting to be involved in the greater industry. I really liked the more intimate, like the intimate independent scene, and but it's historically, the film industry in general, but particularly independent filmmaking historically is a difficult career path, just because any creative field, a lot of unknowns, and so and it was really particularly after our experiences working on these short weekend shorts, I was like, there is a lot of interest. Not just interest, but talent here in it's called the Greater Delaware area, and it feels like we're in a really great location. Yeah. Because we have like the New York market, the Philly market, the DC market. Like we're kind of in this great little pocket of what do we call them, feeder cities, and it seems like a lot of cool opportunities. So what I think that was. I had never really expressed that like, oh, this would be kind of cool to somebody before. And so everyone, we were talking, and I was waiting for you to give me the whole like the incredulous, like, oh, this girl's full of shit, look, and then you did it. And so I was like, well, okay, at least I think we got something. At least, no, once again, like at least we can give it our best effort and try and once again, like I think, and even maybe I'm jumping the gun here, Sarah, so just pull me back if you need to. But so these micro shorts over the past, last fall, over the winter, and through early spring, led to our first proper, 15-page short film that we shot over 3 days in the spring. Mm-hmm. And that was a really encouraging experience as well, in the sense of like, okay, once again, to affirm that we've got talent and we've got interest here in this area. There might be something here. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting journey so far, as far as like the pre-production process for this. Gathering the talent, going through, all the calls and things like that, and going through callbacks, getting to know each of these actors and crew members. It truly shows the need for something like this in this area. It's been awesome because we had a SAG actor on set, for instance, someone who had recently retired.
I don't know. I moved from LA to Delaware. I don't know if you would say he was retired.
I don't know. Yeah, he said it sounded like he had taken a brief break from it. But he was like, again, more than willing to like jump back into something. We've had people who don't have a whole lot of experience, but we're still passionate about, working on something or like trying it out at least. We had college students. We had a child actor on set. So to see the wide range of ages, backgrounds, upbringings, and what they're specifically passionate about, whether it be like sound or actual performance, it's been awesome to see the need for film in Delaware, and I think that's our goal. I think that's what our overall goal is, to bring indie film to Delaware, which is an extremely important thing because, I mean, at least for me, and I definitely know for you, like to have something like this when we were growing up and when we were getting into film as teenagers, like we didn't have this. I had a small class in high school, and that was it. The rest was up to my imagination on my small tablet. Like I didn't have anything else. I didn't have clubs I could go to. I didn't have films I could join. So to really be able to start this up is amazing, and I hope we provide future generations with the bare necessities or the grounds for creating film in Delaware.
Absolutely. I think that's, and I always hope, no matter what happens with Nantico, I always hope that it serves both ends of the spectrum, your professional level. Like I think of my friends that I know who grew up in this area, who have, particularly when it comes to a technical skill set, whether that's cinematography or audio design or whatever, sound design or whatever. I felt that in order to pursue that as a career, they had to move away from an area that they really loved.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of opportunity here for that, for a career. So I would always love for Nantico to provide opportunities for that level of caliber talent when it comes to in front of and behind the camera roles, but also always have those, like, for people who just want like a step in the door, their first experience. Whether that's like, I just want to know if I even like this, because like to your point, Sarah, that was something that I wish that when I was growing up I had opportunity, because once again, like, sure, it's so much fun to grab your little point and shoot and grab your cousins or your friends and put together silly little films, but I do wish that when we were younger, that those opportunities were available in our back door, and our parents didn't have to drive us to New York City or spend a lot of money to send us to a camp somewhere.
Exactly.
Just as like accessible as like community theater is, if that makes sense.
100%. So yeah, it's definitely been such a great, and not even just like, I don't know, it's also been a learning experience as well. Like, it's where we're older, we're not as as young as some of like the teenagers nowadays, but we've had our foot in the door just slightly at this point. But we're still learning, and we're growing from this company that we've kind of started up now. I've kind of truly learned the role of a producer by being one, and vice versa. I think you've grown as a director throughout COVID and throughout working on these shorts and this past short as well. And I think to see where we're going to go from here is going to be extremely incredible, as we kind of just like learn and grow together.
Absolutely. And I couldn't be more excited about it. And the things that we've done, and I couldn't be more proud of. And I think that what's so cool though is that there's so much, in the most positive and productive way, there's so much room to grow, and and to have someone to not only share this experience with, but who's as excited and as passionate and who's as driven and dedicated, has been like the gift that I never thought I would have, have.
Yeah, for sure. It's honestly been awesome working on not only Nantico, but on Martini Shot. And I don't think we've actually said the meaning of the podcast. So I'm sorry. We're gonna do this a lot, guys. We are going to detour extremely, like it's gonna be a problem. But for those who don't know, the film term, Martini Shot refers to the last shot of the day. And currently we're filming, it's 9:30-ish at night. So it's kind of like our last take of the day. So the last thing we do before we, go to bed, it's going to be this podcast. So it's just a play on words. We are not a gossip channel drinking martinis, guys. And we do not condone underage drinking, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it first. We do not condone that sort of behavior, okay?
Yeah, Miss 20-year-old.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But just so we didn't confuse our audience, and we learned a new term today. If you didn't know it, you learned a new term. So
Absolutely.
What if we did that?
Not only will you have fun, it'll be educational.
Exactly. What if we did like a new film turn at the end of each episode?
Sarah, I love that because to be honest, I would probably learn a lot too.
All right. Your first term of the day, folks, is Martini Shot. There you go. So that's the
screaming.
That's the term of the day. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome continuing this podcast for the foreseeable future, at least. Each week, each Wednesday, we'll be back with a new episode and a new topic. And Jordyn, what are some other things we have planned for later on?
Yeah, I think what's cool, Sarah's done a really great job of kind of mapping out the next, 10 episodes or so. And I think it's a really great mix of, sometimes just conversation between me and Sarah, other times interviews with people. And what I actually am so excited about with these guests to come on the show is that it's I think going to be a very diverse mix as well, in the sense of, I know we have some people that, in the kitties potentially that have a lot of professional experience to lean on. And you also have people that are more kind of like where I'm at right now, where it's like maybe they're hobbyists wanting to be professional, or they're just hobbyists. So I think it's going to be a really cool perspective throughout the gamut, as well as I'm hoping that some of the lovely people who've been involved in our past projects can get on and kind of share their experiences as well. So I'm super excited for that. And so once again, some episodes, Sarah, I feel like we're like sipping tea. So Sarah and I discussions, some interviews, and some that are more just like a greater, conversation with other people kind of like in our same shoes, so to speak. So definitely a lot of keeping it fresh and exciting, as much as I know everyone would love to hear us ramble on for hours a week. Want to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. We've got some great topics coming soon, along with some pre-production work on something I will not quite say yet. I'll leave it at that.
Appreciate that. We gotta keep it a little. We're deep into post and a little bit into pre.
Well, yes, so let's backtrack. We're deep into post from our past film that we just filmed, that we were just talking about, The Secret of the Neil Clock. And yes, then we're going to transition to some pre-production for some other stuff, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about it. And Sarah's doing a great job about not kicking me in the face when I miss every single post-production deadline. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, no worries, no problem. Happy to help.
She's like, it's no problem. She's like the vein on her forehead. No, all good things. Gosh. So Sarah, though, I mean, if somebody was interested and they wanted to, follow along on these things that we're hinting at, where could they find us?
That's a good question. Well, fortunately, I have it right here. You can follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or both if you want, at Nantico, which is NANTICO. Or for any casting calls, newsletters, things like that, you can visit our website at nanti.co, which is NANTI.co. We also have a lot of our short films already on YouTube and TikTok. You can just search that by looking up Nantico as well.
Sarah, oh my gosh, a professional.
Thank you. I'm going to try. I think I started out this podcast by a hot mess. But I think I'm gonna transition into that radio show talk host quite soon.
You have a very soothing, a very soothing cadence where I feel like I get a little teeny little up here. You keep it very the timbre is very rich, so you're like,
oh, thank
well
you,
done,
thank you. When I start laughing, it goes out left field. It's just all over the place. So I have to rein it in as well. Just gotta, yeah. But did we solve all the world problems today?
Sarah, I think we put a good dent in them for sure.
Okay. All right. I think we did too.
Well, Sarah, this has been the most fun. Thank you so much for everything and for all the hard work we put into preparing for this episode. And I'm super stoked for next week.
Me too. And I'm excited for everyone else to join us next week as well. So we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.